everybody. Today on another episode of Paranormal Vlogs, Growing Up Paranormal. This is episode 18. So this is bright daylight. It's not spooky. I don't have my Halloween candles and everything. I wasn't going to make another one, but I figured why not? Now I know people are a little iffy about about the interdimensional beings like Palladians, and you don't believe in that, but they're there. And what I just say is, I'm not trying to convince anybody of anything. I'm just telling you my experiences and the things that I know. If you don't believe in it, that's fine. I'm not trying to challenge you. Everybody has to experience things and research things for themselves before they know what's true or not. I know it's true. It's true for me and for all the things I know. I'm not out to try to convince anybody. I'm done with that. At this point, like I said, these things have been happening to me ever since I was a baby. So I really don't care if people believe me or not. I'm not trying to convince anybody. And other people's opinions don't matter to me. So if you don't believe it, that's fine. That's your little world, and you can stay in it and be all safe. But this world isn't what you think. The things you think you know, you don't. Things you think are normal, it's not. The real world is more scary than you ever could imagine if you let it be, because you shouldn't let anything scare you. You shouldn't give into fear. Fear feeds those things. They actually live off of fear. They get energy. They feed off of you and drain you, so don't let that happen. Now, there are those of you who know what I'm speaking about, and I see the only reason why I chose to come out with my paranormal vlogs was because when I was younger, and we're going back into the 70s, nobody talked about this. There was no internet, believe it or not. There was no internet. There was no paranormal shows on TV. I mean, the closest you can come to paranormal shows were In Search of with Leonard Nimoy, if anybody remembers that show. I loved it. And then they had this show way back in the early 70s called The Sixth Sense. Now it's hard to even find that. I tried. Can't find it anywhere. But those shows were the closest thing, and I would eat it up for information. The reason why is because I wanted to understand what was happening to me, what I was hearing and sensing, and who was it? What was it? So I had to basically try to figure that out. And when you're a kid and you can't really talk to people because they don't believe you because you're a kid, and they didn't have, I think nowadays they'll believe you more because there's the internet and everything on TV and books and magazines and articles all over the place. But back in the 70s and even some of the early 80s, not many people discussed the paranormal or the unknown or interdimensional beings. Now you can go everywhere. People know who the Palladians are. They know who the Andromedans are. They know who many of the other interdimensional beings are. They also know of the bad ones. And let me get into all that. But first I'm going to tell you some stories. Okay. So a lot of people ask me, well, how did you know, how did you find out about these things? Well, research, a lot of research, and then when I was able to communicate, you ask them. Now, like I said, the interdimensional beings come in differently because they're actually biological. They're not, floating around. So they can communicate like I could communicate, like kind of like a radio, and that's the way they kind of come in. Now, other people don't communicate with them that way. They do it by channeling. I don't do the channeling, but I do hear spirits at night. Now, if you've seen all my episodes, and if you haven't, you should go see it. I explain everything, how it started out from when I was a baby and younger, and how I heard how I heard strange things at night. Mostly when everything was still, you would hear clanking of dishes and cups and music and people talking, and it sounded like a DJ. And no, I wasn't picking up a radio. I grew up in a big 5-floor house in suburbia, Long Island, and at that time it wasn't crowded in the 70s. We didn't have all these millions of people everywhere, and it was quiet, especially on the weekends. Things were closed on the weekend. Even gas stations closed at a certain time and they were not open on Sunday, so everybody would run to get their gas on Friday because that was the way it should be. You know, I liked it better that way. There wasn't a lots of people. Back in that day, back on Long Island where I grew up, I had a big 5-floor house and it was quiet. You were in bed, okay? By a certain time, everything was nice and quiet. There was no more traffic. Look up in the sky. If you don't believe me with things, for me to get an EVP, I don't have to go to a haunted location or a haunted house or anything like that, or a graveyard. I'm in my house, my apartment, wherever I go. It doesn't matter where I live, doesn't matter where I am, doesn't matter the time of day it is, doesn't matter the month, the year, the holiday. It doesn't matter about any of that stuff. I could do this 24/7 anytime and get them to talk to me. Now, why? I don't know. Am I a portal? I don't know. Growing up, I thought the house was haunted, but it was built for my parents. Nothing was there before, and it was farmland, potato farms. Most of Long Island was potato farms. And they picked a plot of land and wanted a house built, and they had a house built. So it could be the land, but it was actually, I think it's me. I'm a portal for that, and whatever is already existing will be attracted. Now, when I was younger, I think when you're younger, certain things like to feed off of you because you scare easily. And we all know about the reptilians. So you see, demons and angels are just interdimensional beings. So forget everything you learned in Hollywood land with the TV, and they're always going to show them as so powerful, because guess who some of them are? They're that. Hollywood's controlled by that. Hollyweird. I think we all know that. And so they're always going to make them seem so powerful. But the truth is, they're not as powerful as they seem, and you shouldn't be scared of these things. You shouldn't give in to fear. And now, if you're going to communicate, though, and you don't have abilities, you should protect yourself. But if you have any doubts or any fears, if you're not able to sleep at night because you heard a voice on the recorder that you caught, don't do it. Because I sleep great. I don't worry about it because I'm protected and I don't have the fear. If you have fear, it won't work. It either won't work for you or you'll just attract negative beings because they know they can feed off of you, so they'll scare you. So I don't suggest and recommend that you do this. But what I was trying to say was the interdimensional beings are just angels and demons. Okay? And you have good ones and bad ones. And that's all there is. And it's not what you think. And they're not walking around with a pitchfork, and the angels aren't playing harps. It's just what was sold to you to keep you brainwashed, to keep you unknowledgeable, so you wouldn't know the things they know. The more knowledge you have, the less they can control you, the less you'll fear, the more they, you know what I mean? So they don't want you to have that knowledge. They have to put it out there, but they don't want you to know it. So it's usually for people that can see it, with eyes to see. And you have to a lot of people need to keep their mouths shut and their minds open, because their mouths are going with their opinions and their thoughts and what they think, but they don't know anything. So they never shut up enough to open their mind to see the possibilities of the other world that's hidden behind this fake world. Behind this little 3D world, there's a whole other world, and there's a bunch of things. People laugh and say there's no fairies, there's no anything. There's a whole other bunch of dimensions, and they all overlap. So I just want to get that out there. And like I said, if you don't believe me, that's fine. So one comment, I approve comments, and I delete any negative ones because I like to be positive. I like my page to be fun and positive. I don't like all these nasty little angry people. This one person once saw one of my water scrying saying, "You dumbass, that's not how you water scry." Because I've been doing this for so many years. She was probably just mad, and I know it was a woman. She was probably just mad because she gets nothing. Nothing when she water scries. She probably doesn't. There's many different ways to water scry. Water is the most programmable, easy to manipulate element because, like that doctor, I forgot something Moto, how he did the water test, and he put he talked to the water nicely, and then he put nice music, and then in the other one he talked badly, and he put bad, heavy metal, music. Well, and the patterns were pretty with the nicer stuff, and then with the heavier stuff and the meaner stuff, it was all ugly looking. That's water. You're affecting the molecules. Well, the spirits and other entities can do that too. They work with plasma, energy, the water molecules. They use that and they change it, and then they appear in there. And that's what I do. Now, seeing it with my eyes, like there's different kinds of water scrying, like what Nostradamus used to. He used to water scry. He'd had a water bowl and he'd water scry and he would see the future. So they say. I don't know. I kind of doubt his stuff. He wasn't always correct. And I'm not putting him down, but I don't really, I read a lot on him. I don't know. A lot of things he predicted happened. Maybe they happened, maybe they didn't. It's hard to understand because he put it in riddles and codes all over the place. But what I do know is that water is programmable, and you are mainly made up of water. I am, you are. So that's why they put certain frequencies and vibrations to mess us up, because they can affect the water in us. So that's why cell phones are pretty bad around you, and you should get some orgonite and a pendant. I have one. I'm not wearing it right now, but when I'm usually sitting at my computer, I wear that. I have the little orgonite pyramids. I'd get up and get it and show it to you. Matter of fact, I should have brought one right here. It's over there. But I sleep with it by my bedroom. I unplug my Wi-Fi. I think you should, because a lot of the bad interdimensional beings that are here on Earth, that have always been here, that are messing with us right now, that are making this world insane, use that to make you depressed, to cause you anxiety, to make you sick. And I think you really need to get some of that. If you're not going to put your cell phone away, which I really think you should just pop that battery out or shut it off or put it in like a Faraday type thing, something at night. Don't put it by your head. People are crazy. You can't let go of those things for 2 seconds. That gives you a lot of crazy activity as well. If you're suffering from paranormal activity and you didn't do anything, try doing what I said, and don't sleep with your cell phone. Put it somewhere. Pop out the battery if you can. I know the new ones, that doesn't even work. Shut it down. But you can put it in something that'll contain it from, I would say stick it in your microwave, but don't put your microwave on. But a lot of dummies, I hate to say this, are probably going to forget that they have it in their microwave and turn their microwave on. There goes their cell phone. So that's probably the safest place to put it. I would unplug your microwave, so, or just put a big note on it saying cell phones inside. Or if you have an old one, that's a great place to store them at night. And then in the morning, you can pop it out. So it's just a thought, so if you have an old one, you can use that if you're afraid that you're going to turn it on or someone's going to forget and turn that on. So today's story is going to be just a quick one. The story happened back in the 80s. Now, it's not really spooky, but it was unexplainable, eerie, I guess. I guess it was the mid to late 80s, and I rented a house, and it was on Long Island in New York, and I was upstairs. Now the ceilings were kind of slanted. It was like an old farmhouse, so the windows were kind of like floor to ceiling because the ceiling slanted, and then you had the windows. And then so I was sitting there watching TV, and I had the window next to me, and all of a sudden I heard this weird, like, screamy sound. I guess like you would say a banshee screaming in the night. But it was late at night, probably almost around midnight, and this thing just went over. You saw this big shadow. And what made me remember that is I watched Mothman the other night. So, the shadow that it would cast. But I don't know what that was. So I can't say, yes, it was Mothman. I don't know what it was. But it flew over, and I heard this weird scream, and I didn't see it. I just remember seeing this big shadow, and it was nighttime. But, people have their floodlights on, and there was a full moon. And I remember hearing that scream. I'm like, what the heck was it? It sounded like nothing I ever heard. It didn't sound like an animal being hurt, but then I wasn't sure. Now, it's the suburbs, but it was off of a busy road on Long Island. So, because it led to the mall, and I didn't live far away from the mall, and it wasn't like I was out in the woods, the country, where you have all these wild animals. So I didn't know what that was. And oddly enough, my sister was only, like, I guess down the block. Like, say, here's my place. She was right here, hanging out at a friend's house in their backyard because it was summertime. And she said, did you hear that sound? Because she knew I lived there. And I'm like, yes, that's right, that weird sound. And I go, and there was a big shadow. And she goes, yeah, it was like this weird shadow. I go, did you see it? She goes, no, we all looked, but all we saw was this big shadow. We didn't see anything else. And it was freaky. It wasn't human sounding. It wasn't animal sounding. We looked all over. So it wasn't just me that heard it. It was my sister and her friends that heard it. And to this day, don't know what it was. And I really doubt that it was like a giant bird, because it would have to be really super big. I mean, and what bird stays out at night? And even then, I never heard anything like that before or after. The next story is, so it was in the late 80s, and the same house that I rented. Now we had the stairways and a little landing and a window above the landing, and then my bedroom and a bathroom was in the back. Well, one night there was this bad, wicked storm. Now this storm was like no storm I've ever seen. Now it's New York, Long Island. You don't get the humidity like you get down south. And I've lived in South Florida before, so I know the weird storms you get. But this had, like, the sky was green. I mean, I remember being woken up by these loud thunders, and the thunder sounded weird, almost like a portal of hell was open. I've never heard. Now, I know thunder could sound weird if you live near water, and even though it's Long Island, you got the water, but the beach was like maybe 30, 40 minutes away. So I don't, and I've never heard this. I was born there. I lived there most of my life till I moved, but I never heard thunder like this. And the sky was green, not gray, not black, but green. And there was weird, like, lightning, like sheet lightning and regular lightning, and the lightning was like green. And it wasn't a transformer blowing because it was all over the sky like that. I've seen that, people told me the difference. But it was really weird, and it was really creepy, and it just came out of nowhere. It was a nice day, it was a nice night, and then somewhere in the middle of the night, this storm whipped up, the wind whipped up, and this loud, eerie thunder, and the window. I was just looking out the window, and I just pulled back, and all of a sudden, this loud thunder, and it shattered my window. I know the glass is probably cheap, but it just shattered the whole window, so I'm glad I pushed back, because I was looking up at the sky like, what the heck is going on? This is weird. And there was no tornadoes, there was no reports of tornadoes the next day, so I know the sky can look green and weird with a tornado, but it wasn't even humid. It was summer, but it wasn't like a hot day or night, and it must have been around towards the end of summer, so it was probably like in the 70-degree range, maybe 75, 76. I don't know. But it was strange that that happened. And then my window cracked, and then I'm trying to fix it in the wind, and the rain is all blowing in, and it was crazy. That was the strangest storm that I've ever seen, and everybody was talking about it. Did you see the sky? So I wonder what was going on back in those days. So something was definitely going on. It was a regular storm. I don't know what was going on with this storm. It was a spooky storm, and it was dark and eerie and green, and like I said, everybody the next day was talking about it. This was in the late 80s, and everyone said the sky was like a portal. You know, people are actually seeing portals in the sky and getting pictures. And this is another thing I want to tell everybody. I think you all need to put the cell phones down. I'm a big fan of putting those damn things down, and look up at the sky. And get your cameras and have a tinted sunglass, because almost like on They Live, you can see a lot with certain tints, like an amber, a red, and a blue. Those will help you. And you know, if you also have the different color lenses on for your camera, you should really try that out, okay? And you will see, especially around the sun, of course, I know there's chemtrails blocking you, and that's what they're there for. They have many purposes. And if you want to know more about chemtrails and all that, look up Kurt Vella Coates. Oh, I'll put the name underneath here. He's a German scientist. He's a really nice guy. He goes into black goo and all that stuff, and he gets into detail. Now, as for the things in the sky, there's a lot of weird stuff going on. And the sun, people are seeing 3 suns. The moon is no longer in its right place. We either shifted, we've been shifting. You have the Mandela effect, which, if most of you don't experience or know what the Mandela effect is, there's tons of stuff on it, and they're just weird memories of people that were dead that are alive now. For instance, Richard Chamberlain, he was once alive. You know, he was the man on the Thornbirds, and I think he played the man in the mask. And not many people know who Richard, is, Chamberlain. And he died of AIDS back in the 80s, and he was gay back then. Now it turns out that he's alive, but he's straight, he's married, has kids, and he's alive. But back then, in the other lifetime, other dimension, other parallel universe, he was a gay man who ended up getting AIDS, and he was never married, never had kids, and he died from AIDS. Then he's alive again, poof. Go figure. Kirk Douglas, Michael Douglas' father, he died. I remember the whole funeral and on TV, and I'm not confusing it with his brother that died, it was him. He died, and he was old, and they had they had a People magazine, they had it on Entertainment Tonight, and this was way back in the early 2000s, I think. And yeah, he died. It was either the early 2000s or something, I don't remember when, but he died. And all of a sudden he's alive. And everybody knows Mandela, that's what it's named after. Nelson Mandela, he died, for me, he died twice. Once in prison, and then another time he died again. And then in prison and something else he died. And I remember seeing the funeral on TV, the whole thing with his casket and everybody lining up and coming into this big room. And then it was everywhere on the news and paper. Then another one is Doris Day. She died. And I remember being in the grocery store, and she was on the Inquirer. Then they had all magazines with Doris Day on it. Beloved Doris Day, dead at 92 or something like that. And then I remember it was on TV. They had special Doris Day movies. And then all of a sudden I find out she's alive. So usually when we're, like, me and my husband are discussing TV shows and movies and stuff, I'll be like, and he'll ask me, is that person still alive? I'm like, really? I don't know who's alive and dead. They were dead, but they could be alive again, or they're alive, but they could be dead now. With the Mandela effect, you never know who's is coming back to life. That's probably why they had all those shows in the past few years of The Returned and another one, Resurrected, or something like that. They have to tell you things, but only with people with eyes to see and minds that are open will know the message. So they have to tell you the truth. It's a universal law that the elites, or the reptilians, or whatever you want to call them, but that's what they are. You know, they're the demons of the world. They walk among you. And I was even told, I spoke to them via recording, and they told me a lot of them are like humans. They're helping humans. They wish they were humans. And we all know demons wish they were humans. And demons are nothing but the reptilians. Interdimensional beings, I told you that. And yes, I'm telling your secrets. Everyone knows about it. But basically, there's good ones and bad ones. So not all of them are bad, and some of them are trying to help you and me, and you're all going to find out soon. It's coming to the point where you can see where a lot of them aren't able to lie anymore. They have to tell you the truth now. It's just coming out. They can't even lie about things. So soon, you all better be ready for this, because you're going to see what they actually look like. Now, don't be ready to attack, because some of them are actually good. They've been living amongst us all your lives. They were here before we were here, and while we were here. Some of them are good. Some of them are really, really bad. They don't like you. They don't like me. They don't like anybody. And the good ones are really trying to help us, and they don't want to hurt us. And they want to, like, for things to go on where they can exist with you looking, because they told me they don't want to scare. I go, well, why don't you just let them see what you look like? And we're like, no, people will be scared. We don't want to scare anyone. Where the bad ones want to scare you because they want you fear and want to feed off of you. So just like there's bad humans and good humans, there's bad demons and good demons, which they're interdimensional beings, reptilians, or whatever you want to call them. That, yes, they're real. I know, because when I first heard about reptilians and all that, I remember I kind of laughed. And when I looked at some of the videos of them shape-shifting on TV, and I rolled my eyes and I laughed. So one day I decided to sit down and watch a bunch of stuff on it. This was a long time ago. And I remember laughing and sitting there just laughing. Like, these are ridiculous, come on. But then later on, I started to, you know, it made sense. And then I communicated, and I'm like, okay, there it is. So when I woke up on that point, they know when certain people are waking up, because you emit a certain frequency of vibration, and they know it. Be afraid of you are more, they're afraid of you. They're afraid of me. They're afraid of you, because we are more powerful than them, and they know it. That's why they cloak themselves. They're afraid of us. And that's why they keep us divided by race, by religion, by ages, by all stupid things they can think of. Because if we came together as one whole people, we become even more powerful. And they know that. So wake up. Wake up. Now's the time. You create worlds. You don't even know, but you create people. There's some people walking around, they're not real people. They're soulless beings. Some of which you created, and some of which the AI created. Trust me, I know this a lot, but you'll have to look into it. So there's more than just ghosts and things that go bump in the night. There's a whole other world out there that you don't know, because you're too busy playing with your cell phone to look up. You're being programmed, and you don't even know it. And I just want to help you all. Because if you don't wake up and see it now, when you do see it, because the matrix is failing, you might end up having a heart attack. It's in the Bible that men's hearts will fail. So I'm trying to help you. Wake up. See the unseen, know the unknown, and get over your fear now, so that when you're presented with it right in your face, you can just say, get out of my way. like I do. Just get out of here with your scary cat things. Don't let them get you. Don't be scared. And wake up. And I'll see you on another episode of Paranormal Vlogs, Growing Up Paranormal. This was episode 18. So I'll see you on my next video. Bye.